She's in North Carolina, and she's had some really interesting experience with Sasquatch as well. But she does inspired art, um, really cool painting,
Wow.
and she had a very interesting um, experience that she had with Sasquatch. She was called to mediate a problem between these people who had desecrated the Sasquatch cave
Uh-huh.
in their property. And then the Sasquatch got a bit angry and kind of got a bit nasty, terrifying them and shaking the house and painting the house with handprints and
Wow.
scare the guys away eventually. So she went. Another psychic friend of hers got this inspiration to get her to go.
Uh-huh.
So she got there and she had no idea what she was going to deal with. And then she went to this place and she felt the Sasquatch. And then she realized what happened was that the people who owned the property had found their cave and then had taken a lot of stuff from there, like rocks, sacred rocks and stuff. And then it burst a dam and flooded their cave, which was their house. And they were pretty, pissed off.
Wow.
Interesting. But then later on, when she started talking to the woman who owned the property, sorry, just disappeared. To the woman who owns the property, she said she had seen many times UFOs and beings walking in front of her house in the property.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
was like an interesting twist.
Did you
So
do an interview with her?
I interviewed her. Yes, it's quite cool.
Wow.
And then she's got a YouTube channel called Cindy Solene Carter.
Okay. I'll
And
have to check her out. I'll check out your interview. That sounds interesting.
she started posting a few more things on her YouTube channel. She said she hadn't been on the YouTube channel. She hadn't added anything to it for years. And then after the interview, when we had a chat, and she started posting stuff again, and she got a bit more active with the Sasquatch thing. She's really cool. She's really cool.
Wow. So what do you make of the Sasquatch, Marco? I mean, do you think it's how common do you think it is? And
It's very common, man. I think it's very common. I think it is a lot of people talk that they work in conjunction with extraterrestrials. And a lot of people have contact with them say that they have seen both together. A couple of books. I've read a couple of books on Kione Lapseritis books, and he says that in Saint-Beau's, Jean Letellier, and he lives in Quebec, I think. And he has written a couple of books, and he's a quite psychic, I
okay.
mean, quite message. I think they are part of the big scheme of things where push getting us through the transition as well.
Yeah.
Um, Mike Patterson lives in
Yeah, yeah,
Canada.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's a
We've
big
interviewed
man. He's a
him,
big
yeah.
Sasquatch dude. Yeah. So I think it's part of the team that is slowly pushing us through and through this transition and educating us as well. Yeah. And
Yeah.
how to be more concerned about each other and about the land. I had a really funny thing. I was driving up to Auckland last
Uh-huh.
weekend,
Yeah.
and I was watching. That I to Shakmu, which is my friend from my Sasquatch friend. I take him red apples. I take
Okay.
the apples to the park here,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
sit there and I live sometimes. I think we talked about that when we were talking in your interview. Um, so I leave the apples there and we sit down and have a chat, blah blah. So I was watching Pork and Beans
Uh-huh.
show, yeah, with those two crazy people. And then this guy was being interviewed. He was talking up, and I was in the car driving up to Auckland.
Yeah.
And the guy who was being interviewed, he was talking about his experience. And now he's a researcher. He's from the south of the U.S. That one day he was hunting.
Yeah.
He was in the middle of the bush, of the woods, hunting for venison. And all of a sudden, he's kind of staking, waiting there. And then he hears this noise and a lot of noise, trees being pushed and loud rustling around him in the bush. And he thought, okay, must be a couple of bucks. I'm going to be able to choose which one I'm going to get. And all of a sudden, he says that he sees there's a clearing right in front of him. I mean,
Yeah.
further down. And he sees this hairy person, heavy, walking through, running through this grass area.
Yeah.
But he said the guy was very heavy, you know, red hair, but he was so fluid that this guy describes as if a Walmart plastic bag being blown throughout the parking lot. So there's a
Wow.
huge image for you to figure out. So because of it was so light,
Yeah.
but it was just like running through, and then and he was kind of howling and you know screaming at him, and then I think it threw a piece of wood and went this close to his head, and it
Wow.
chased him out the forest, and then you know, while he was saying that, I was in the car and I was driving, not even thinking about contacting or being contacted by him, by Shakmu. And then all of a sudden in my head comes Apple. I said, Apple? And then it comes red apple. And I said, you cheeky. And then he said, no avocados. Because I had brought him some avocados a couple of times. Then I said, no avocados, no avocados. And I said, no green apples either, because I brought you some green apples. No, red apples.
Wow.
And then the conversation, the pork and bean show was how intelligent and how they are not, people say they are animals, how intelligent they are, because the conversation that he started with me telepathically was contextualized, because the guy on the show was talking about that he thought that he might have invaded the Sasquatch hunting ground.
Yeah.
And actually, he had mentioned just before on the show that he had walked by a deer which had its neck snapped back, and he had never seen something like that.
Wow.
So then he would say, so the context of the show was food. And then he picked up on that, and then he talked about food.
Wow.
I tried to carry on with the conversation, tried to be a bit funny, and
Yeah.
say, so I'm going to make you a fruit salad. What should I put in it? But then he was not there anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
So the point of the conversation with on the show with Brian was that you know, it's I think they're busy people. They have
Yeah.
their lives, families, whatever they do. So he realized that I was vibrating on a specific. I call it ping. I got pinged because I think we're vibrating. We're vibrating a frequency.
Okay.
But then when you shift the frequency slightly, I think because they're multi-dimensional and he's connected with me, so he realized my vibration has shift a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was listening to the show, people was talking about Sasquatch, so maybe there's a common vibration. And then straight away he realized, okay, good time for me to come into the conversation in the context of what's happening.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Then yesterday, the park's just down the road here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I swear to you, Grant, I was busy trying to get the dogs ready because they get overly excited and it's like takes more time getting them ready to actually take them to the park. And then I was in the kitchen here and I walked by the fruit bowl. I didn't even perceive. And then I got red apple because he knew I was going to the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was saying, don't forget my red apple.
So is this, I've heard people make not sacrifices, but they leave offerings to Sasquatch. Is that part of what you're doing?
No, what I start doing because I wanted to engage with him.
Okay.
And because I had read that people do, you know, Mike Parts is the marble guy. He takes marbles and leaves marbles, and then he gets the marbles back. Brian Bland took some I think fruit as well. And he has a very interesting story that when he decided to gift or give them some food or just try to make this. I was talking to someone called Penny Rummel. She was on Pork and Beans show as well, and she has a lot of activity happening, lots of orbs photo. And then she says she's a bit scared of making contact with them. You know, she knows that they are there in the back in her backyard, and I was telling her that it's like when you start a friendship. And if you're going to start a friendship with us humans, we do certain things and certain behaviors that kind of create that friendship. So I was asking me, what should I do? I said, well, talk to him. Talk to him. Go there and sit by. Get yourself a cup of coffee. Sit by that tray and just have a conversation. Tell him or they, listen, I'm really keen to do this. I'm really scared, but I'm scared of doing it. You know, I'm scared of I don't know what's going to happen. And then they'll listen. And then tell them exactly what how do you want this first contact to happen? So the thing with Brian, what he said in his book is that, and on his interviews, is that he used to put a I think it was not even apples, some fruits, but some like cookies, some really good cookies he had,
Yeah.
in a bag, and tie the bag up and put it in a hang it from a branch,
Yeah.
because he said, okay, I want to make sure it's not like a possum or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then he was saying that the next day he went back on this spot where he would say what he knew the Sasquatch were, etc. The next day he went back. The bag was hanging off the bark, off the branch, and then he said, "Oh, nothing happened." He went there. It was empty. He had, I think, two packets with 8 biscuits in each packet.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the pack was eaten, was gone, but the pack was left in there. So they ate the biscuits, left the wrapping, and there were 2 apples. And he took a bite of one apple, put it back in the bag
Yeah.
with the other apple, and tied the knot again.
Wow.
And so we're talking about, are these people kind of switched on, intelligent? They know what's going on. Of course they do. So I think that's what it is, man. I think I'm finally answering your question. I think it's this multidimensional extra help just to assist us going through this transition and changing our habits and our modus operandi. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We get sort of in a different frame of mind, and then we're able to sort of pierce the veil, or we're sort of on that edge where people are going in and out. I know I used to, when I used to travel, I used to have almost like you, where you're sort of listening to something on the radio. I used to listen to podcasts and stuff, and I'd be driving like across through Wyoming and Montana or whatever. You can drive for like, 4 hours before you see a city or anything. And it's just sitting there, and you sort of zone out, and all of a sudden get these ideas. So I actually it was pretty dangerous, but I used to have a writing pad, and I used to sit there, and I'd have on cruise control, and then I'd sit there with my knees, and I would actually write, and I'd be writing while I'm driving down 65 miles an hour down the highway, because you get in that zone where you're not paying attention to the radio, you're listening to it, but you're not paying attention, and you just sort of zone out, and you move into the field, and all of a sudden the stuff starts coming in your head. So that's when I did the contact modalities, we talked about that whole idea of trying to give your left brain something to do to keep it busy, and then all of a sudden it opens up, and they can talk to you. Whereas when you're normally in your normal state, you're in the physical world and you're busy doing stuff and you're paying attention and stuff like that, and they just can't break through.
I think it's interesting that sometimes it's sometimes visual. I did a community Reiki event, because I do Reiki. I did a community Reiki event 2 weeks ago, two weekends ago, and then there was me and other people. But then again, it's that the shifting in the energy, in the consciousness, or the intention, because it was in a yoga studio, which is already like a healing area. But there was 4 or 5 of us, so we had cleared the room and everything. So set intention, and then I saw them coming through. I saw them coming through the door. And then sometimes I see them coming through and behind me, and then putting the hands, as I said before. I think that the hands, the first time I saw them come from a Reiki session, was that I had my hands down on the patient, or on the person, and then I saw this massive arms coming down this way, through my arms, which I also had seen with mantis beings. The first couple of times which I was doing Reiki, I've seen actually them coming as well, and the arms sliding over.
Mantids are supposed to be connected to medical health or stuff, right?
Yeah, I think so. I know that
I've heard the story. Yeah.
The experience with, there was that experience that I told you about the Scooby-Doo house, when they were operating on that being. Then they asked me if I wanted.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then I think that and listening to other people, they are very much into that healing practices, whatever.
Yeah. Ray Hernandez has a joke. Ray Hernandez runs the free. He said, if I had $1 for every experiencer I've come across that does Reiki, I'd be a millionaire.
Exactly. And his story is quite amazing as well. It's interesting, very cool story. And then So I was doing this Reiki thing, 2 weekends ago, and then they came through, and I felt them coming through, and then they were, but I saw just they coming through, and I think they dissipating the energy, and they stayed somewhere. Oh, cool, finished, and then at the end, the other guys already packed up, and were just loading their cars, and I was in the studio just closing, and then I felt this his they modulate also they modulate the energy, I think, to the context of the situation, for instance, I told you when he jumped in the car here, yeah, down the road, that was completely different. It was like funny and love and laughter, and I kept laughing. Usually on the sessions, just like normal, they come in and you can feel them, but sometimes when it's something kind of serious thing, or everything's kind of serious, I'm assuming, but when it's kind of something that I need to pay attention of, it kind of vibe. I feel him differently, and I usually have this pain on my shoulder. I mentioned to you before, yeah, which is the point of on my left, for many times ago since I started everything in Brazil. That I felt this pain, sharp pain, and I said, okay, I must sit down because this must be serious or important. Anyway, so he said, and then the vibration is quite different. How I felt, and he said, this is what it's important. He's mentioning the healing thing. This is what you came here to do. The rest of life is important as well, but this is what you have to focus on. Don't move away, or don't stray away from this. Stick to it.
Wow.
And
Have you had some pretty interesting Reiki sessions that sort of left you wondering what was going
on? Initially, when they came through the door, I said, "Whoa!" I had one which is quite interesting. I used to go and do it in a crystal shop here, and
Yeah.
there was this client, and his energy was quite heavy, quite heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy in the sense was a young guy who was transitioning, not because he was transitioning generally, it was heavy, but he was talking a lot about and I don't talk, I just keep quiet doing my thing. And he was talking, but it's good, I think, for people to talk. It's like therapy, and he was talking about his personal problems and blah blah blah, and then I saw on the corner, on the top of the room here, it was the first time when actually I saw beings. I saw this really scary reptilian, but really mean looking dude.
Okay.
Looking at this guy and looking at me, and then white, I think that's what they call them. Some people say that they're the white ones, the white reptilians, something like that, or lizards. And but was quite that one was quite not frightening, but it was quite interesting to see, how the shift, the vibration that was generated, or the energy, the consciousness generated on the table, kind of, it's like antennas attract all these beings and attract this guy. And he was big. I could only see his torso. He was looking down at the person on the table, stayed there for a little while, and then disappeared. But the Reiki, yeah, sometimes I feel. I did one last week with them. I do it at a retirement village here, and then we do in one of the ladies that I do. It's in a chapel to start with. I think, psychologically, you walk into a chapel. If you understand those Christian symbols, you kind of change your shift, and the energy can be quite strong. But I think Reiki for me was my my quantum leap since I started doing it. I was having dreams before, but when I started doing it, then I start seeing things more often. I quite like it. I think it's quite cool.
Wow. Let's talk a bit about your book. You sent me the book. Can we talk a little bit about
did
that?
You like it?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in the sort of the download thing. How long did it take you? This is the a little Arcturian. Are you going to put it up on the internet, or are you to publish it, or?
I don't know, man. Oh, as I said, can you hear me? Okay, I think I froze before. That was interesting. I think I told you that I was in this office here, and then I was meditating, and then all of a sudden I said I had this downloading, saying that identifying themselves, and then and that was it. Greetings, that's who we are. And then couple of days after, I walked out here through the back door. I went to the garage, and as I'm coming back, I see my feet differently. I see my feet as small feet and I was wearing these blue boots merged into this blue suit, space suit kind of thing. I was rather small, very thin, soft limbs and arms and everything. And then as I got up to here, obviously, as always happens with me, and it was my body, and it's got up to here, and then gone. And I said, Jesus Christ, what is this shit? And then that was it. And then one day, and then I got the initial message, greetings. And then the story started that I was going to write, and then I needed to need to produce this book.
Yeah.
And I asked them, hey man, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Are we going to meet physically? Yeah. I think I told you that, and they said no, because you're not here. We are not here to meet. We are here to it's not your job. You are here to spread the word, to be the person who opens connections for people to talk and to tell this story.
Yeah.
And then I start writing, and they said, "You're going to publish this," and I said, "Fuck off! No way! No way! I'm going to put my face out there. No way! I'm going to put my name out there on the internet. No, 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 no." So we wrote many. I think on that PDF I sent you about 60 pages.
72 pages. Yeah. 72.
It happened for a whole year, I think. And then at the end, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. And then I was reading it, and I said, wow, that's a long time. And then some of them, I think I was dating them. But anyway, I think starting 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And then I finished that project, and I said, I'm not doing this. F off. They didn't. They're always around. And then I still wrote a few other messages that came through from them and from other beings. But then kind of I parked that. No, life got busy. I went to other things. Wasn't even doing Reiki or anything like that. Just carried on with life. And then the whole thing happened with the page. And then I got a message about.
You're frozen up. Hang on. Let's try to get Marco back here. Hang on.
Okay. Cool.
You froze there for a while. You disappeared.
Yeah,
you were talking about life gets busy, and then you.
Yeah, you froze again.
Oh, I'm frozen. You're frozen. No, you actually left. Can you hear me now? Shoot, what's going on here?
I missed everything, Grant. You froze for the past 30 seconds.
Wow. Network bandwidth is low. Why would it be low?
Hold on. Okay. It says here that my Wi-Fi is connected.
Yeah. It says Marco's network bandwidth is low, but I've still got you. You got a smaller picture, but that's good. Let's see, January 6th.
No, I can hear. Yeah, I just checked mine and said that doesn't matter.
I guess we zipped through here and
you're going there. I can hear you, and I can see you moving.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not right directly on the cable, so I don't know why it would be slow here, but maybe there's a lot of people on the internet. But yeah, go ahead with your story, and let's see if we can get what we can get done here. You had finished the book and finished the thing, and then you were going on to other things. Am I still freezing?
Yeah, I'm missing the beat. I'll change. Hold on. I'll go somewhere else in the house, see if it improves.
You're like a real estate agent. Take me for a tour here.
So now here, Grant, now you see the bathroom. It has been recently renovated. Beautiful bathtub.
Okay, yeah,
now you have 2 bedrooms, and then you have here the beautiful living room.
Wow. You got a good place there.
Cool. Is it better now?
You weren't freezing up. You just froze up. No. Let me maybe call you back, and we'll try another signal. Hang on.
Okay.
Let me call you. Let's go back to the same. We can click on the same thing. I'm going to go to a different computer and try that.